Of my piece, I'm just going to read a couple pages titled My Virtual Cat. I found a silky white cat in my inbox. She was a long-haired Persian mix, and as soon as I clicked on her photo, I knew we'd be a good match. She had been abandoned at a veterinarian's office, the same place my friend Suze took her dog. The cat was 16 years old, and she peed a lot. Early-stage kidney disease, not yet fatal. Sue sent the sob story out into cyberspace with an announcement that the cat needed a new home. Icy was pure white except for her nose, pink as a cherry blossom, and cloudy blue eyes that sat buried in her furry face. Adorable, adorable, I typed back to Suze. I'll take her. All I had to do was convince Ron. Ron inherited my dog when we married, a lab mix. He embraced her from the start, hiding treats behind her water dish as a surprise, buying a retractable leash so she could trot 10 feet ahead of us down the sidewalk, and spending Saturday afternoons tossing a soft frisbee for her at the park. Even though he welcomed her, he believed a dog deserved a yard. We didn't have a yard. Instead, Ron and I kept moving from one rental to another, apartments, condos, row houses. He was ready to plunk down our savings and buy a home near Washington, D.C. where we lived, but my dream was to return to California, the place we met and married. Not yet ready to sever my ties out west, I frequently flew back and forth between coasts. This would pose a problem if we took in a new cat. While I could assume the bulk of responsibilities most of the time, litter box, food, vet appointments, when I left town, I'd be pawning Icy off on him. If Ron was okay with the plan, we'd be fine. But I had my suspicions. It's not that we didn't want to grow our family. There was a barren space in our home, rather our townhome, but the missing piece wasn't a feline, it was a child. 3 years earlier, I'd had a miscarriage. The loss occurred after the baby's heart had already begun beating, so when a sonogram later confirmed the fetus had died, Ron and I sat stunned. In the exam room, I stared at the floor beyond my feet, and he reached for me as my silent tears dripped on my gown. During an ensuing surgery, the doctor found my pelvic area riddled with endometrial tissue, inflammatory growths that made the prospect for another pregnancy bleak. Hormone pills, artificial reproduction techniques, and visualizations of flowers blooming in my uterus didn't work. We didn't conceive again. So the day Suze's email arrived, I confessed to her my real reason for wanting Icy. I have empty arms syndrome, I typed back. I ached to swaddle babies, carry toddlers, and hug children, or at the very least, squeeze a lovable cat. My dog, Suze said, he was an empty arms acquisition. We got him minutes after my first in vitro fertilization failed. I had to have a baby something. Suze understood. Because she was a companion of mine on the fertility journey, our conversations often revolved around ovaries and motherhood. I told her I had a feeling Ron wouldn't go for an elderly cat. Let's send him ESP messages, I said. I shut my eyes and beamed him. He was in the air thousands of miles away on a red-eye flight to Washington, returning from a business trip. Suze said she had an extra cat bowl and litter box I could borrow, so I made tentative plans to swing by her house on Saturday to pick up the supplies. Then I contacted Suze's vet, Dr. Whitehead, to find out more information. Icy will lie in your lap all day and cuddle. That's her only goal in life, Dr. Whitehead said. What magic words. I could practically feel Icy's gentle purr and myself stroking her silky coat and kissing her between her tufted ears. I dreamed of her all night. Ron arrived home early in the morning, bleary-eyed from the flight. First, I let him sleep. Then I watched him eat. Finally, I opened my mouth. We're not adopting a 16-year-old cat, he said. I hadn't even mentioned the peeing. I waited a few hours before explaining the whole story again, only better this time. I added details about how Icy's ex-owners left her to be euthanized even though she had a few good years left. And I tried to explain the hollow pang inside, a gulf that longed for a newborn baby, but one I thought could at least be tempered by a cat who wanted to do nothing but hang out and nestle all day. No dice. I started obsessing over Icy. I kept her in my inbox. Each morning I uploaded her picture and built our imaginary life. We lounged on my chaise with a good book or spent the afternoon in my writing office where I reached over from my desk to scratch her chin as she stretched out in the sunny spot by the window and yawned. We had an instant bond, as if we'd known each other for ages. True, the bond was one-sided, and I sensed a lingering awareness that it was demented to be emotionally involved with a pet I'd never met, a virtual cat. But I couldn't stop. But I will stop there.